question I am asking today is when is this government going to start giving a damn about the safety of women and girls in this country? Until I see some tenacity when it comes to stopping the boats, I don't think that they care. How many stories like this are we going to have to hear before they actually start caring and start making stopping illegal men coming into this country a priority? I have had enough of it. I do not want to bring up a child in this country, bring up a daughter in this country until this problem is sorted out. I grew up in this country feeling pretty safe. I was able to run around the streets with my friends, having fun without parental supervision, without really much of a worry. But today, can girls do that and actually feel safe? I'm not sure. And it used to be just in cities that girls feel unsafe, but you're now seeing in these nice small rural communities where there's usually little to no crime, they're now being ruined because these are often the places, small little villages where they are opening up asylum hotels where they say, right, let's just dump 300-400 young men into a little village with nothing to do. They don't have jobs. They might get a free PlayStation at the taxpayer's expense in the hotel, as we're finding out, but that's about it really, right? So what are they going to get up to? Well, they're going to walk around the town and get up to no good. Go round in gangs, harass young girls. I'm not saying all of them will do that, but some of them will. Remember, we've had Dienzanger, that village, where they also, once a lovely little rural village, opened a migrant hotel, and then you had parents in distress calling the police, begging for help because of migrants hanging out at the primary school gates. I'm not even talking about secondary school, I'm talking about tiny kids, primary school gates, each day, apparently taking photos and videos of little kids. What did the police say? They said, we don't think there's any problem here. Sorry, we'll tell the asylum seekers to try and observe British culture a bit better. What? We just cannot bow down to this. We cannot put our girls at risk. But anyway, on to the story specifically that we're looking at today. And you guys get your comments coming in because we are live and I want to see what you guys think of this. We have found out today that an asylum seeker, an Afghan asylum seeker, has been found guilty of raping a teenager, i.e. a literal child in Falkirk town centre. This is a town in Scotland. Let's have a look at the details of what happened. It's just devastating. This is just, I'm showing you this story, but don't be fooled into thinking that this is a rarity. This stuff is happening all the time. We keep seeing more and more stories like this. I'm just putting the spotlight on this one, but there are many, many more. So we found out that an Afghani asylum seeker followed a schoolgirl and subjected her to a rape attack after spotting the lone victim in the town centre, despite the victim repeatedly telling him she was only 15. Okay? He knew she was a child. It's not like he didn't know what her age was. She told him repeatedly. Absolutely no excuse. Am I surprised by this? No. What is going to happen when you bring in a bunch of men from a culture where consent isn't... do they really know what consent is in Afghanistan? I doubt it. They've got people coming from a country where older men marrying and sleeping with teenagers, people who are like 12, 13 years old, against their will. That's just the norm. That's how things go in their land. Do you expect them to rock up on our shores and all of them to immediately just revert to whatever our culture is on how we treat women in this country? Of course that's not going to be the case. You will have people coming from Afghanistan who are coming from there because they absolutely despise the culture around the treatment of women in Afghanistan. That's the reason why they're fleeing. But it's not going to be the case for every single one, especially when they're undocumented and you don't know which, Tom, Dick and Harry is coming across. You'll have bad apples and you'll have good apples. If there is no vetting system and anyone who gets on a boat can get in the country, we know they don't get kicked out once they're here. That rarely happens because ECHR, any old excuse you make, they'll be able to stay, right? We've got no idea who are the good and the bad apples. We have literally no filtering system. Anyone that wants to come to Britain, as long as you've got the cash to pay the mafia in northern France, you'll get across. No problem whatsoever. And I'm just like, when are we going to start caring about the young girls in this country? This poor teenage girl. And it's not just this teenage girl who's, I'm sure absolutely traumatised for the rest of her life as a consequence of this horrifying attack. But think about every other young girl that lives in that town. Every other girl that lives in that town now is now going to be scared. Kids are supposed to be able to play, go outside, walk down the street with their mates, go to the sweet shop, whatever they do, right? Without having to worry. That's why I have always loved this country, is it's a safe place. Women and girls can, go outside. Of course, there are always some risks and there are always some, criminals about the place. But generally speaking, when I walk down the street, I feel fairly safe. I don't want to live in a world where I'm terrified to walk outside and I don't ever dare go to the shop, to Tesco after dark because it's too scary to walk down. I don't want to live in that world. I don't want this place to become a third world, and I've just had enough of it. So let's get rid of that picture there. So this guy, Sadiq Niksard, don't know if I've said that right, caught up with the girl in Falkirk and asked for her phone number and whether she had a boyfriend. This has all been at the High Court in Edinburgh that this trial has been taking place. And we've seen, it's not the first time we've seen asylum seekers asking for young girls' phone numbers. You guys will remember that there have been viral videos that we've seen a few times of asylum seekers, loitering around bored outside their accommodation, going up to girls in school uniform, very clearly teenagers and not, above the age of consent because they're in school uniform, going up and asking for their number and then not taking no for an answer, right? Insisting, okay? They don't have the same culture as we do. In this country, we're very clear about consent, and if you go up to a woman and you pursue her and she says no, you say, okay, no problem, sorry to bother you, and you move on. But not everybody has the same culture as we do, okay? This shouldn't be surprising. So this guy, he's 29, going after a little teenager, gross paedophile, made sexual remarks towards the underage girl and led her to the rear of the Courtyard pub where he molested her and subjected her to a rape attack. Can you imagine that? You're just out, normal Brit, down the pub, trying to have a pint, enjoying the nice, maybe you're enjoying the nice sunset with this sun we're having, and then all of a sudden, in the courtyard of the pub right in front of you, some guy starts raping a little girl. Absolutely vile. Should not be happening in Britain. This is meant to be a first world country. Now, he wouldn't even admit to it. He denied raping the girl, but has been found guilty. So he's going to be spending some time in prison. It doesn't seem to say in the articles that we have out on this exactly how much time he's going to be spending in prison. But apparently, he will be deported from the UK at the end of his prison sentence. Now, I'm sure this is time away, but I predict probably won't be deported. So long as we're still part of the ECHR, he will probably be released out into the community. Okay? Because this is happening time and time again. I'm glad to hear he's been found guilty. I'm glad to hear that the courts have done something about this and found this guy guilty and said that they want him deported afterwards. But how many stories are we going to get about rapists, foreign rapists, not being deported because of ECHR rules? Just say you don't like foreign chicken nuggets and you can stay and be left in the community. We had a story of a guy, a Syrian, who had sexually assaulted young girls. I think they were children. And apparently he can't even be put in prison. I'm not talking about deporting him. He can't even be put in prison in this country because, why? Because he has PTSD from when he was in prison under the Syrian regime in Russia. Not in Russia, sorry, in Syria, right? I'm sorry, but I don't care if you've got PTSD. If you have sexually assaulted a woman, you should not be free to walk the streets. Where's Keir Starmer's outcry about this? Where's Keir Starmer up in arms and Yvette Cooper up in arms about the fact that we have got a guy who has sexually assaulted young women in this country, putting young women at risk, left to roam the streets because he's got PTSD? Come on, where is the outcry from the government? I do not believe that they care about women and girls, okay? I knew that after Keir Starmer refused to give us an inquiry into the grooming gangs. For his own gain. He doesn't want to upset certain communities and this and that, or damage the Labour Party's reputation, because we know most of the councils where grooming gangs were happening were Labour-run councils, and you'll see people in the Labour Party damned for their failure to handle the crisis properly. Right? So it's going to be bad for the Labour Party if they do an inquiry. But you know what, Keir Starmer, he just doesn't care enough. He doesn't care enough about the safety of women and girls in this country to put his own reputation at a little bit of risk. I just think that's absolutely disgusting. And I'll get to your comments after we've run through these last few things. I saw this. So, Rape Crisis England and Wales, they put out a report called Not Safe Here, the Systemic Failures to Protect Women and Children from Sexual Violence and Abuse in Asylum Accommodation. And so, this report that they've put out is talking about how women and girls who have come across on boats, who are in asylum hotels with these men, are being subjected to sexual violence and abuse. And I have a couple of things to say on this. So, first of all, why is the focus from Rape Crisis England and Wales only on the safety of women who have come across on those boats? What about all of the girls in the town and the community around those migrant hotels who are not being protected from the risks? Okay, you put 300-400 young men with nothing to do in a hotel in the middle of nowhere. They're going to roam around the town. They're going to get up to no good. Yet the Home Office keeps on plonking people in these hotels. Their official policy is not to consult the community and not to let them know and just put the girls at risk, right? But apparently, it's only those who are foreign. We should only really care about their safety. That's the only focus in the report. But second of all, why is it the case that the Rape Crisis England and Wales can recognise and other people can talk about how horrible it is that women and children are subjected to sexual violence and abuse in asylum accommodation, yet authorities are refusing to recognise the fact that men living in these hotels have any backwards views towards women and might pose a risk because of their different culture to women in this country? Okay, I don't hear Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper having the guts to say that people who come here on boats, the kind of countries they're coming from, the kind of cultures they're coming from, they are more likely than your average Brit to commit rape, to commit sexual assault. They're unwilling to address the cultural differences, but the left will happily talk about how horrible it is for women who are asylum seekers to be surrounded by these men. What about white British girls? Why is it always white, working class British girls that nobody cares about? We saw this with the grooming gangs. No one listened to them because they were white. Okay? That is what it is. And as I've said, guys, this case I've shown you today, it's not the only one. Let's just show a couple of, I saw this story. Asylum seeker jailed over rape of 15-year-old girl following several failed deportation attempts. These stories wind me up the most because I'm like, that rape didn't need to happen. Okay, first of all, if they weren't in the country in the first place, but second of all, the authorities were meant to deport this person. They would not have been in the country to commit a horrible rape against a woman and traumatise a woman for the rest of her life because authorities don't have the backbone to do it. Why don't you just ignore the ECHR? Okay, a lot of people talk about leaving the ECHR. Why don't you just start ignoring it? The other countries do it. France does it, Germany does it, okay? I looked this up, guys. There are nearly 10,000 ECHR judgments that have just been ignored. France ignores it. If the ruling that the ECHR comes up with is bonkers, they just ignore it. Why don't we do that in this country to protect women and girls? But oh no, Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, they wouldn't possibly do that because they want to cozy up to their foreign bureaucrat mates over in Europe and Brussels. It's just pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. What's happened to feminism? Where are the feminists? And remember, Abdulazidi, another guy, should not have been in the country. Okay? He had his asylum application rejected twice. He was convicted of sexual assault. As soon as that happened, he should have been out the country. Gone. Should have, after the first asylum claim was rejected, he should have been gone. No. But then he claimed that he had converted to Christianity. And there we go, green light, rubber stamp, you can stay. What happens next? A mother and her 2 kids get acid thrown on them. Again, I'm not talking about rape here, but I'm talking about women and girls being put at risk by dangerous men who should not be in this country. I am just absolutely furious about it. Right, let's get to your comments. Let's see if you guys are as angry as I am. Some people are talking about Ukraine in the comments. Gosh, Ukraine is the only thing in the news at the moment. I'm kind of fed up of talking about Ukraine. To be honest, nobody says, why isn't Starmer being held for high treason? It's up to us to make our shores safe from Islam. What else have we got? Government don't care. We the people have to remove the traitorous government. They are destroying this country so fast the next vote won't matter. We're overrun with millions of paedophile migrants. Look, let's pray, ladies and gents. Let's pray that we can get reform in 2029. It frustrates me that we're going to have to see 4+ more years of our shores being flooded with these dangerous men. We're going to see more rapes, okay? I hate to break it to you, but you're going to see more of these horrible stories. You've seen what's happening in Germany, okay? We've done a few videos of the past few days. We had another horrible car ramming attack in Germany, and it seems like it's every week there's another attack. That will start happening in Britain. I'm sorry, and I hate to say it, but it will. It will start happening in Britain. That's the way things are going, because we don't have a grip on our borders. We don't have any vetting system at all about who comes in this country. Paul says, I guess if he has a love for certain chicken nuggets, he will be okay and not be deported. As bonkers as it sounds, you're probably right, Paul. If he just says that he likes some foreign chicken nuggets, or he says that he's gay, that's the easy cop-out one. I'm gay, you can't deport me because I'll be subjected to persecution in my country. We've got a Jamaican rapist who is bisexual. Can't be deported apparently because people might be mean to him in Jamaica. You know what I say? Sod your human rights. I don't care if you get bullied for being bisexual in Jamaica. You deserve it, to be honest, because you raped a woman. You came to this country and didn't even respect us enough to leave our women be. Tough shit. Off you go back to Jamaica. Enjoy the homophobic bullying is all I can say, to be honest with you. Ollie says, what do we need to do? Start patrolling the streets. I mean, lack of policing is another contributing factor here to the just general lawlessness in this country. I think the biggest problem that the lack of policing is causing is kind of like things like shoplifting, phone thefts, these sort of smaller crimes, but they are really starting to frustrate people, causing small businesses to close down because they just can't deal with the amount of stuff being stolen from their businesses anymore. People fed up of not being able to go out in London without, taking their phone out their pocket without it being stolen. So yeah, this country is turning into a mess. Let's see what else is going on in the comments. As you guys know, I'm not very good at talking. I'm reading at the same time. Multitasking is not really my forte. Someone says they see non-believers as easy prey. Sadly, this is the case for some of the extremists, in that they do think that in their religious texts, in the Quran and whatnot, that people who are non-believers, they're like a subcategory of humans. So even though in Islam they would never or at least technically according to the books, they typically won't support the raping of a woman and can condemn that. It's almost like sometimes they see it as a free pass if it's someone that's a non-believer. And you see this with the grooming gangs, right? They're calling them white slags and dismissing them, and the women in their own community, the Pakistani women, they weren't raping them like they were raping the white girls, but the white girls were non-believers and a different different skin colour. They thought of them as lesser human beings. That's a sad reality. Dee says, sorry I'm late, Chloe. You will be forgiven, Dee. You can scroll backwards. Most people actually watch it afterwards, to be honest, if you look at the stats. What else? Why is someone calling me Maya Tuzi? Oh, right, Maya Tuzi, they want him dead. He has struggled with, he's Iranian, he's struggled with dodgy packages and whatnot trying to be posted to his house. I think they tried to kidnap him once and the guy fell over whilst he was trying to drag him in a van and he managed to escape. I mean, it's scary stuff. It's scary times we are living in. Let's see. Kathy says, who is letting these children out of their sight? I'm sorry, but I think I don't want to live in a world where parents have to be watching their teenagers 24/7. That's why you've got all these kids now that have fried brains, because they sit in front of iPads all day because their parents don't think it's safe enough to let them actually go out and play by themselves. And that's partly due to mollycoddling and soft parenting, right? But if things keep going as it is, safety-wise, you can't say to your teenage girls, okay, go over to your mate's house. You can walk over there by yourself. You guys can hang out. Walk around the town, go on a shopping day out. You're just going to say, nope, unless I'm free, the parent, and I'm not working and able to supervise you, you are locked inside the house in prison. That's not good for teenage girls. They need a bit of freedom, and I want to live in a safe society where they can do that. I don't think that's too difficult of an ask. When I was a teenager, I was safe to do that, but teenagers today, maybe not so. Let's see. A lot of you shit posting in the comments, making it hard for me to find the good ones. We've got some conspiracies about Lord Ali. He and his party are owned by Lord Ali. Oh dear, it's all a conspiracy theory. And then Paul says, I'm just waiting for Labour to give them all voting cards. Watch this space. I mean, you saw what Biden was doing in the US, where the illegal migrants were very conveniently being relocated to swing states and, being put on fast track to be able to vote. I wonder why that is. And I wonder why we haven't seen a big clampdown on immigration from Starmer yet in this country. Maybe he fancies a few votes. Last comment before we end things. They flee their country because they are persecuted and then start persecuting the people in the new country. They aren't persecuted in their country. They are being prosecuted for crimes. Look, this doesn't go for everyone, but it will go for some of them, right? You will have people coming to Britain from places like Afghanistan, where women are treated absolutely horribly because they prefer the Western British culture, right? They want to align with our values, okay? There will be some people coming over who do not like the way that women are treated in Afghanistan. But also, who are the people who are most concerned about the treatment of women in Afghanistan? It's the women, of course, the women who have experienced, life is much better for men in Afghanistan than it is for women. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's fucking horrendous for women, right? It's not the women that are coming across on the boats, okay? It's the men, and there are reasons for that, in that it's much more dangerous and difficult for the women to leave. It's not that they don't want to and don't need to leave. They're in horrible situations and would love for us to come and save them. And the thing is, if we brought those women to Britain, they wouldn't be going around raping anybody. Men are the ones that you need to be more concerned about, right? And so you will have people coming from Afghanistan who don't like the Afghani, the Taliban and whatnot for other reasons, and the treatment of women is not their biggest concern. And they're coming because they want a better life. They want to live in a more prosperous country and not live in slum conditions and whatnot. Okay, they may still come here with reasons to come here whilst not having changed their views on women. Also, they might reject some parts about the treatment of women in their country. So they might say, I don't think women should have to be covered up. I don't think women shouldn't have to speak in public. Yet, ideas around consent and appropriate age to be with a woman and whatnot, that might still not have changed for them. So, yeah, we need to vet who's coming in this country is the bottom line. And I think it's an absolute failure for women in this country, the fact that the authorities just do not care. I do not want to keep seeing more stories like this in the news. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Appreciate you tuning in, and we will be back again soon, maybe tomorrow for a live, we'll see. So keep an eye on the channel for that. See you all next time.